today is all about how the qualifications work. There is obviously often quite a few questions that we do get about this, and I do feel it is a really important thing to know. If you are trying to plan out a program or a season ahead, it's good to know sort of where the pathway can take you. What kind of opportunities it kind of can present. What's expected from you in terms of training and also qualifications. So we'll sort of look throughout the session at covering some of those key points. Overview of how certifications work in this industry. There are a few different national bodies, firstly, that people can be certified under. Maybe I'll just let you, Kia, just explain a little bit about yourself, who you're qualified with, and I guess
sure.
What path you've taken to get to where you are, how long it's taken, maybe those kind of things.
Yeah. So being in Vancouver, I'm obviously certified under the Canadian certification, which is the CSIA, Canadian certification for ski instructors. I started that, as I mentioned, 10 years ago. It was pretty random, actually. I wasn't planning on taking a career in skiing, but that sort of morphed into that. And I successfully completed my level 1 and my level 2 within the same year. There are 4 levels of instructor certification, and you'll generally get either a 3-tiered system or a 4-tiered system, depending on which country you ended up certifying with. Almost all of them are going towards 4 tiers now, where the first level is generally an apprentice certification, and the second one is just a follow-up or a consolidation of that first certification level. And most full-time instructors, I'd say all are capable of getting their level 1 and their level 2 within the same year, if that's a goal that they have. In most certifications as well, including the CSIA, the jump from level 2 to level 3 is quite large, but that also will end up lead to you becoming more in the training role once you obtain your level 3. Level 3 certifications in most countries are allow you to train other ski instructors, as well as be able to certify fresh ski instructors. That's how it works in the Canadian system. And once again, the jump from 3 to 4 is quite large. I am personally training for my level 4 right now. It's partially completed, and God willing, I'll have it in April. But yeah, so it took me several years to go from the 2 to the 3. I think it was a 4-year gap in between the 2. But in between that, a lot of instructors, after they get the level 2, will start to branch off and get different certifications. I, for example, went and took my snowboard certification level 1 and also my freestyle certification. Lots of people will go into race coaching, park, snowboard, all sorts of stuff like that to kind of fill in the gaps as they train towards the level 3.
Fantastic. No, great overview there, and certainly it's really good to hear your the way it sort of worked for you in terms of the length of time that it's sort of taken. Obviously, it's a very important point that you've raised with regards to, if you're wanting to progress yourself to a higher qualification level, it obviously opens up more opportunities. And yeah, it's something that I guess is, from probably also my own perspective, I feel it's something that the schools are generally very very positive about and very for people's own personal development. But at the end of the day, it does require you as an individual to sort of make those kind of calls as to whether you think it's going to be the right move to make. And yeah, I guess it's a bit of a commitment thing that you're obviously getting further and further involved. So fantastic. I guess what we might do is just have a little bit of a look now at just some of the different certifying bodies, because this, I guess, is also something that we do sometimes get a little bit in terms of questioning of who should we go with? Is it specifically the Canadian system, or is it the British system? And how does that work? Am I going to be restricted to the one country? Like if I get a Canadian cert, am I going to be restricted there? I guess to give you an idea, just so you know, anyone that's considering one of our programs, we operate through quite a few different systems due to our international spread. So if you were going to the likes of Switzerland, we use the New Zealand and British system, so that's called NZSIA or NZSIA or BASI. If you go to Canada, it's completely all Canadian certs that we're using over there. New Zealand, it's all New Zealand certs. And if you were to go to somewhere like Japan, we do actually have a little bit of a mixture. It's mainly New Zealand certs for the ski side, and then Canadian for the snowboard. So at the end of the day, it doesn't actually make a great deal of difference which certification system you go through. They are designed so they have an international recognition. Maybe if you wouldn't mind sharing there, Kia, if you have any sort of insights onto what you know of cert levels and how they transfer to people wanting to go to other countries, for example, maybe doing their first season, they've done a season at Cypress with yourself, they're considering maybe a Southern Hemisphere season or maybe a different location. What would you sort of advise on that?
Yeah, so as Ash was saying, the certifications are more or less internationally recognized. If I would say that in order for your certification to be recognized in another country, you should aim to get your level 2. As I was saying, that in most countries, especially in the Canadian cert, that is sort of your full cert kind of level that they kind of look at. That being said, it's in terms of what certification you want to get, it'll take some time for you to figure that out. Ultimately, every country has its own methodology and understanding on how they coach and teach people how to ski and teach. Ash is someone who goes to a conference called Interski, where everyone from all these different certs, the highest levels of those various certifications, will get together and they'll share their knowledge so as to try and make it more uniform among countries. But of course, everyone has their own ideas. Ultimately, though, it's all the same stuff. They just say it in different ways. What you do need to know about getting a different certification is, where do you plan on staying? If you are intending on working as a trainer or progressing in the industry in a particular country, it helps to develop your certifications in that country. For instance, if you were to have an NZ qualified level 2 who was coming into Canada, you wouldn't be able to just hop in and take your level 3 exam in Canada. Because in Canada, they would say, well, you understand how to teach in New Zealand, but you need to understand our methodology before you can just go off, get your level 3, and then start teaching new ski instructors. So you'll generally have to repeat whatever your current qualification is in a particular country. That's usually how it works. So if you have your New Zealand level 2, you'll have to do your CSIA level 2 as well. That's why starting to progress where you think you're planning on going all the way makes more sense. That being said, it never hurts to get extra certifications and training. At a certain level, for instance, if you were to have your New Zealand, I believe it's a 4-tiered system in New Zealand as well, right?
Yeah.
So if you have your New Zealand level 4, will be internationally recognized, same as the CSIA level 4. And there are things you can do that give you an international certification, and those things include avalanche training, certain many hours of coaching, and of course having the highest level certification in that country will open more doors to you for sure. A level 3 or level 4 helps you move around a lot more than a level 2 does, by all means.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that there, Kia. It's certainly all very much, I'd agree with you on that. I guess what we'll start having a little bit of a look at is some questions that we've got from the group. So I guess just as I mentioned earlier, if it feels like we may have not quite satisfied the answer to your question, if you can maybe just put it in the comments section, just for us to clarify anything further, or obviously let us know if we're all okay. So I'll just going to pick one here. Just one moment. So we've got Carolina here just asking about, for an Ultimate Plus program, after completing level 1, when do applicants usually complete level 2? What does the pass rate look like? Okay, so yeah, I'll sort of give you a bit of an idea, just those that are listening in, so you kind of know the difference. There is 2 different programs that EA operates largely, which is Ultimate and Ultimate Plus. So Ultimate is geared towards specifically towards level 1 in terms of its program components. So all internships, whether it be Ultimate or Ultimate Plus, kick off with level 1 training initially, all taking place in that first month, as well as your level 1 examination. What happens if you are signed up to do an Ultimate Plus program? If, for example, you're looking in the likes of Canada, we offer this in Lake Louise, Big White, Revelstoke, Castle for snowboarders only. And yeah, the way things work is the level 2 training is actually structured a bit differently to the level 1, both in the delivery but also the time frame. So after you start employment, which would be around the first month, just after the first month, you'd probably be getting straight into some work. You'd be doing some shadowing of a more senior instructor, just sort of, I guess, feeling like you're transitioning into that employment role effectively. What happens for those training for level 2 is the level 2 training on an Ultimate Plus is interspersed with your work. So you're going to be doing a bit of a blend. There'll be still quite a fair bit of work you'll be doing, but you will probably be a bit busier because you are sort of taking on board those extra training days. And we do structure the level 2 exam. It's typically towards latter parts, towards March, that you'll be doing the level 2. The basis of the level 2 exam of when you choose to go with it is quite often, and I guess Kia probably would agree with me on this one, it's something that we'd normally recommend through consultation with your trainer. They can obviously give you a good insight. Also, when you pass your level 1 qualification, it will give you a bit of a benchmark as to how you went relative to the qualification level. I'm not entirely sure exactly how it works on the likes of the Canadian system, but in the New Zealand system, for example, we have a grading of 10 for different components. So if you are to get above a 6 or above, then that effectively is a pass of that component. So that also gives you an idea as to how the scale of how you've passed. I guess if there's certain areas that may need further development to proceed on to your second level, but yeah, typically it's March for the Northern Hemisphere. If it's the Southern Hemisphere, it's geared towards sort of middle to late August. Yeah, so hopefully that sort of helps explain it there. In terms of the pass rate, I guess, Claire, do you have any sort of information you want to share on that? I guess it's not, in terms of pass rates, yeah, at the end of the day, the certifying bodies are not looking to pass based on a certain amount. They're not saying we want to let this many people through, but not let this many people through. So it is all relative to your own, I guess, presentation skills and how you can deliver each of the different components in a form of assessment. But yeah, I'll let you obviously carry on from here, Tia, if you have any.
Yeah, pass rates are a funny thing, and everyone tends to ask about this. It's very largely dependent on. Obviously, all of you guys will be very new in the industry. It's largely dependent on the support structure you have and on the given mountain you're working at. An example of this is that if you were to, I don't know if you've heard of Whistler Blackcomb in Canada, very, very big resort, thousands of instructors. The pass rate for the instructors there for the level 2, despite being such a massive resort and featuring a lot of training, is fairly low. It's roughly 40 to 50%. Most of the people who do not succeed in the level 2 at Whistler tend to fail on the teaching side. That being said, in contrast to that, the pass rate at my mountain at Cypress over the past 3 years for the people that have been training for it is 100%. And that's because the mountain is smaller and we are able to help those that are in need of more help and understand who really wants to get there too. And the advantage of going to a mountain that has night skiing is that you are able to train in addition to your working days without a loss of wages. I would say that overall in Canada, the pass rate for the level 2 is hovering probably somewhere around 65 to 75%. I wouldn't say that it's something in Canada. It's not meant to be a stressful or challenging experience, the level 1 or the level 2. It's meant to help you develop, and the stress doesn't come until later. I think if you are someone who has a goal to get your level 2, if that is your goal at the start of the season, then you will get it as long as you train for it. So if you are going out seeking help from a trainer, understanding where your areas of improvement are, then I don't see why anyone who doesn't want their level 2 at the start of a season working full time can't get their level 2. So in that regard, it should be fairly easy. In the northern hemisphere, it should be fairly easy. I understand that in the southern hemisphere, as Ash was saying, the New Zealand system is a little bit tougher on the level 2. But that being said, it also sets you up a little better further on. So the harder it is to get that level 2, the more of a demand there is, which makes it a bit closer to the level 3. But I don't think it should be that challenging if it's what you want. I hope that answers your question. I'm not really sure. I wouldn't look at pass rates and look at all your peers and decide to yourself, well, this many in our room won't pass, because it's largely dependent on you and your mountain as well, and the support you have.
Yeah, I certainly agree on that. And I guess just to give a bit of an idea, I think certainly the support systems, like Kia said, is very relevant. That's in terms of the likes of who's training you, the training team behind you. You've got obviously insights when you're on one of these internships from a range of different people with multiple seasons of experience. There'll be people out there that are, I guess, certainly certified in terms of their capability to train you towards the next level. So sometimes, even in those sort of informal settings, discussions that you're having over a lunch break, or riding a lift when you're not working, just getting yourself involved, I think, is certainly something that I see a lot of value in. Those people with that kind of mindset that are going out there with, real intent, you'll see them progress in quite a different way to those that are sort of just taking it a little bit more cruisy. They might actually start behind those people, but actually end up with a more successful result by the time they reach level 2. I've sort of found that in my own experience, I guess, with training. But yeah, hopefully, as Kia said, we've answered your question satisfactorily. And yeah, do let us know if you've got any further points. But I guess we've got another question just popped in here, so I'll look at the next one here. So what does the format of the assessment look like? Is there a percentage split between theory and practical? So I guess what we might do here is just maybe look at level 1, because for anyone considering our programs, that's the first one that everyone's going to have to go through. There's no skipping it out. You can't just miss level 1 and go to level 2. So if you're starting out, it will have to be something you have to go through first. In terms of the way I can speak on behalf of the New Zealand system, our level 1 is a 5-day exam. It's something that we have quite a fair bit of prior content is able to be sourced online before you actually attend the day 1 of the exam. So there is an online component. The whole purpose of that is to get people to open up the manual, to delve into the information, and to also come with a little bit of theory prior, so that the idea behind it is when you're attending day 1 through to day 5, you've got a bit of prior knowledge that we can then sort of start to actually delve into some more sort of practical components. So it's the likes of you will be covering certain progressions. You'll be covering the ways, different teaching methodology. So we've got a teaching model that we follow in the New Zealand system that is probably very similar in a lot of other systems. Might be a little bit of variance, but we're trying to put people into in a supportive environment that they can basically present information and also be educated in the same process. So they're getting direct feedback from their peers and also from the examiner. So it's, I guess, the intention behind level 1, I would probably say as a general between each of the different bodies is that it's very much about education and information gathering and experience, learning from the experiences you're having. And from that, we would generate an internally assessed mark. So that's something basically meaning that if you come, you have a go, day 1 on a particular element. It's not like that's it. We're going through continuous assessment. So it's the intention behind it is for you to develop and get better. So in terms of a percentage between theory and practical, I would say, each day that you arrive to do the exam, you are on snow. You're not, there might be the occasional sort of review or debrief inside, but we're doing everything out on snow. The theory basis is more so outside of the actual days on the snow. So if you are prepping yourself for the level 1 exam, you're doing a bit of online work, and obviously you're preparing things like lessons in the evenings prior to you presenting them. So that's sort of the way things work from what I have the knowledge of, which is the New Zealand system. Kia, I guess you may have a little bit of an adaptation to the way that it works on the Canadian system, but if you have any info you can possibly share.
Yeah, in Canada, it's a little similar. It's the ski and the snowboard exams are both, well, the assessments, they're both 3 days long, and the format between the two, between skiing and snowboarding, is very different. It's similar in the sense that there's a little bit of online work that you need to do ahead of time, and that's just so that you can have a very, very, very basic understanding of skiing or snowboarding coming into the 3 days. The snowboard assessment is more of an assessment in the sense that you're expected to remember a progression. If in terms of theory and practical, there's really no theory. It's more a riding and skiing component and a teaching component, if you want to think of it that way. And the theory or your understanding comes out in the teach. And at the level 1, it's not expected that you have a very acute understanding of skiing and snowboarding. That's not what it's about. It's about how you can present a lesson to a group of people and whether or not you can keep them safe. So on the snowboard side, there is a progression that you're expected to learn. On the ski side, it's a little bit different than that. It's more that we try to teach you to think, and there is no real specific progression that you have to memorize, whereas it just needs to go in a logical order. You'll see that when you get here. That being said, there's no exam day on the ski side. It's just a ongoing assessment. And the way I run it, because in Cypress, I'm also the trainer, I basically run it, if you are coming to Vancouver, I run it as a 15-day long assess training. So I assess you from the moment you get in. Do you come on time? Are you nice? Are you able to talk to public? And it sort of goes on like that so that you feel like you're being trained until the moment that you pass. And that's sort of how it is. And who knows, in my mind, you might pass by day 3. I won't tell you, but you might. On the snowboard side, there is an exam day that you're going to have to go through. But that being said, it's sort of a similar thing. Is what you do on the first 2 days is also very dependent on what you do on the last. If you show that they recognize that you are very new at this and that you're able to progress in a way that you're just a member of the public that's just learning how to do this. Level 2, you already know how to do it. In terms of the format, it's the exact same way. It's just assessed training on the level 2 side for the skiing. On the snowboard side, it's very similar as well. It's a 5-day course where it's assessed training. And then you kind of do a couple exam lesson preps and stuff beforehand. But the level of content and theory you need to know it's sort of something that we understand builds as you become a professional in this industry. So don't stress too much about, there's no written exam, right? There's no written exam in the New Zealand system, is there?
It used to be, but now it's all sort of in the online format prior. So we call it e-learning, but it's basically if you put the effort in, you will pass it. If you didn't put the effort in, you wouldn't pass it. It's really just a means to open up books and start discussing it, start thinking about it. You will still obviously obtain knowledge and information on the exam. That's the whole point of it, is it's educational. But at the same time, we don't want to sort of be so heavy on presenting of information that then you have to basically look at and regurgitate. I guess that's part of being a really good instructor at the end of the day, is having your own ideas, your own concepts, your own ways of presenting information. There's nothing, I guess, more boring than seeing a sort of very scripted lesson that kind of just follows it's just not sort of inspiring. So I guess, we do want to sort of have that capability that people can, see the things they like. They might have seen another instructor present something in a certain way, grabbed a bit of information from them. You might have thought of a cool way to present, some particular part of a progression you're giving. So I guess all those kind of things, at the end of the day, is sort of what we're hoping for.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of that, James, is our manual used to be about this thick. Used to be a good 200-page thing, and now that's it.
Hey.
Right, it's really small. So we're going away from the idea of it's not supposed to feel like school. It's still supposed to be fun, right? You're not going to sit there and have to write a paper and study. You don't have to study. Not in Canada, you don't. We understand that you're skiing because you don't want to be in school, so it's all good.
So hopefully that answers your question there, James. Certainly, if yep, all good, fantastic. So we've just got another question here. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right there, Juka or Juka. So I'll just read out what the question is.
Yuka?
Juka?
Got to be Yuka.
As a ski snowboard instructor, how much can you expect earning money on average, weekly, monthly during the season? Is it usually an hourly salary? So the more you work, the more you earn. Good question there. And I guess we can give a bit of a basis. Firstly, once again, it does differ between different countries as to the way that the payment structure is for a qualified instructor. Typically, industry-wide, you will find that there is a teaching rate that is agreed upon, that's part of your contract, and that will be often relative to your certification level and to your experience, maybe either in the industry or potentially, quite often if you've been doing repeat seasons at the same resort. So that's one way that it's factored in. It might also be the likes of requested lessons. If you've had someone as a private lesson, that might help towards kind of a pay review or a priority structure of you being sort of moving up the ranks, and that I guess helps with your allocation of work and the likes. Kia, I'll let you, obviously, if you have any thoughts on that, let you also describe from your side of things. It's sort of, I guess, from our side, we can sort of talk about certain kind of resorts and countries, but because we have quite a broad range, it is a little bit hard to give things as a specific, because it is all relative to where you go. At the end of the day, it will be differing amounts. But do you have anything you want to share there, Kia, on that point of the question?
Yeah, in general, in this industry, I don't think it matters even the pay structure is different depending on where you're working, obviously, in terms of the country. But as an overall theme in this industry is, if you are flexible and you are reliable and you hunt the hours, then you will earn more time and money. It sort of depends. When you go into a season like this, you need to ask yourself if you are doing it only because you want to ski or snowboard, and your goal is to go and make this more of a pleasuring working holiday, or if it's something that you want to have as a form of income as well. And if it's going to be income, then it takes time, especially as a first year member of the industry. That being said, there are examples of people in their first year who do quite well because they're hungry for those hours, and they ended up being very reliable. In general, at least in Canada, especially, I'm not sure how it works in New Zealand, but you're generally paid for the hours that you teach for. So you want to hunt those hours that you're working for, as opposed to hanging out in the back and maybe avoiding the first time lessons over and over again, or maybe those lessons with tiny 3-year-olds. You want those ones because those are the ones that'll come back. And as Ash was saying, if you start to work towards teaching really good lessons, then they will come back and ask for you personally. And most ski resorts around the world reward instructors who are bringing in more business as personal referrals. You'll end up getting a commission on that, and that's where most of the money is at in terms of what you're looking at. That being said, it varies so much that we can't simply say this is how much you'll earn every month or every year, because not only does that vary on your work ethic and your reliability and your ability to get people to come in and come back and ask for you, but it also depends on snow. If we're having a really bad season, then how many people will come up to ski and snowboard? If we're having a really good season, then we might have too many people come up. Mountains in general will hire their staff based on what they predict the volume to be like. But sadly, this is an industry where it's unpredictable because it's governed by weather and temperature and all that kind of stuff. So there's no real way to guarantee how much or how little you will make. And if you stick to it, you get quite a bit, right? If you end up working into a higher management role or a training role, then your hours are less governed by the business volumes. But to start with, it really does depend on business, and it might be pouring rain one day and all the lessons got canceled, and you don't make nothing. You'll still get some hours. You'll get at least 4 hours, even if you don't work anything. But you just never know. And that's something you have to understand if you want to minimize your stress levels in a season, is that some days you'll get a lot of money and some days you might not. And as long as you kind of accept that you're there both for personal growth and to develop some way of getting income, then you'll make it. And I think those that are hungry for the income can get there. That said, in terms of flexibility, it really, really helps to be dual certified. So if you're really considering income in this, then seek to obtain a ski certification if you're snowboarding, or a snowboard certification if you're skiing, because that just makes you much more attractive to the snow school, and the more flexible you can be, the better.
Fantastic. I hope that does help answer your question there, Joka. Obviously, as Kia said, it is one that we get very often when people are first inquiring with us about our programs. And yeah, the reality is that it is a very difficult one for us to put an exact figure on. The intention behind these programs at the end of the day is that we're providing an opportunity that if you are, if you have the right attitude, I guess is one major thing, from the day you arrive in the resort, like Kia said earlier, you want to be presenting yourself in a very positive way. That's in terms of your communication, your overall look, all these kind of things do make, I guess, a much sort of better picture for you as an instructor, your prospects for the future. If you're turning up late, it's, for anyone, whether it's the trainer in your trainings, or for a lesson, absolutely. You don't want to be turning up late to a lesson that's allocated, because they are paying guests. So I guess, yeah, certainly putting yourself in the right kind of mindset, you know, being that person that's, I guess, doing things without being asked, chatting to someone going up the chairlift because you feel it is a, you know, a good representation of yourself and also the company. You know, striking a conversation up could lead to a lesson. It could lead to someone, you know, booking you specifically, or it could even look towards them booking within the lesson and maybe providing some kind of a form of a good review in the future. So, I mean, all these kind of things certainly help. And yeah, the basis is that you should be turning up on one of our programs hungry for the work. If you're wanting to get more work, looking for it and participating as much as you can. You are allocated set amounts from the school. That's sort of, at the end of the day, what the school will do. They'll have certain lesson lineup times, but yeah, what you can do outside of that, or even within those lesson times, it might be trying to generate a repeat lesson. So things like that will certainly help you a lot. And the intention behind it is that you will have the means to support yourself out of the earnings that you generate on the program. That being said, there might be, like Keir said, weather conditions that play into it, which could have an effect and bearing on your earnings. So it's just sort of going with that mindset of, you know, that you may have to draw on savings if there was to be a significant bad weather patch. It rained, yeah, and the snow was lost and guests weren't coming. That might have a possible bearing. However, if you're sort of really concerned about that, you might also look at doing 1 or 2 nights part-time evening work, you know, to supplement the income if you really sort of felt that was a concern. It can be done, but I guess you will be quite busy at the end of the day. But hopefully that helps. So we'll just move on to the next question, which we got from Carl here. Are you more likely to get more work as a ski or a snowboard instructor? Kia sort of briefly mentioned about becoming dual certified being a good idea. Maybe if you just want to sort of explain a little bit more what you know of. You know, you've obviously had some insights. You've seen kind of lessons going out. You know, where the work's going. What would you sort of say on that, Kia?
Yeah, that's also so much so resort and country dependent. I would say that in Canada, especially, or certainly in my resort, because we're so close to a big city, that there is an overwhelmingly large amount more work as a skier than a snowboarder. We encourage snowboarders to get their ski instructor certification. There have even been seasons in the past where we have sponsored the instructor cert so that the snowboarders can get it for free, just so that we can get them the hours because we needed more skiers. So this is something that happens, and if in Canada, I think in particular, if you teach skiing, then you will work, and if you teach snowboarding, you might not. I think it's the other way around in New Zealand. Last time I heard from my buddies, but I'm not really sure. I know in some countries it's completely flip-flopped, but over here, skiing is king for money. Yeah, but do both.
Yeah, well, it's certainly from our side of things, it's the biggest percentage of what the resorts are requesting in terms of internship positions. So it is something, I guess, very mindful if you are certified in both, or you know, we sometimes get, for example, someone that's maybe skied for their whole life. They've recently taken up snowboarding, and they're really sort of keenly interested on that as a new discipline. As much as we don't want to sort of say don't follow your passion, it would be if you're in that kind of position, we probably would either look at advising you to get dual certified specifically, or to look at considering getting ski certified first. Just in terms of employment prospects and opportunities, it is going to probably present itself better for you. And I guess a big thing in terms of a school environment is often you will get quite a range of benefits once you're working within that school. Access to trainings, discounts on, it might be discounts on food on the mountain, it could be discounts in town if there's sort of referral sort of systems in place. But yeah, it just, I guess, makes it a little bit easier if you were certifying yourself on the ski side, and then maybe once you're in the industry, you might sort of start to delve into getting snowboard certified. I think that's something I would say is quite a smart way to do things. Yeah, I don't know if you have any further points there to mention on that, Keir, but I guess that's what I'd probably be advising.
Yeah, that's about it. In general, most resorts these days are very very supportive and open-minded in trying to help you obtain those certifications. There'll be training provided if you wanted to get dual certified, so that and let's face it, you're at a resort with hundreds of other instructors around. You're gonna make friends. They'll teach you how to ski or snowboard. You know what I mean? And it's a good way to pass the time if it's on a particularly slow day, or if it's a really nice night or something like that, and you want to learn something new. Usually the skills are really transferable. So even if you're been snowboarding all your life and you've never skied before, it doesn't take that much, because you're so familiar with that. If you've gotten your snowboard certification, you know how to teach, you know how the mountain works. Stuff like learning how to be safe on the mountain, understanding how your board works on the snow, it's all the same as skiing and snowboarding. So it's not hard to do. And yeah, like Ash was saying, I think ultimately you need to do what you're having fun with, though. You need to kind of figure out what's a bigger priority for you. I can say with experience that the vast majority of people in this industry don't do it for the money. You can make money, but it takes a lot of time, and you have to first be really sure that it's what you want to do and that it's what you love before you can start thinking about it as a career. Definitely go into it with the idea of doing it for your own enjoyment and a positive experience first, and just have a plan. Minimizing vices will help for certain. You know, like if you plan on blowing a lot of money on going out to drink every night, that might hurt you. But if you sort of come in there with a bit of a plan, then you'll be okay. And you can work around that easily. So just be responsible. That's the only thing it takes, is you can have a great time working on a ski resort or anywhere, whether it's holiday or whether it's for money or whatever you do. But as long as you're responsible with your finances, then you'll be okay. And that doesn't mean never going out. It just means not always going out.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Hopefully that answers your question there, Carl. Yeah, and yeah, thanks very much for your question. We have another one just in terms of asking how much longer does it take to get dual certified for level 1. Typically for our programs that we feature a dual certification option, so we do this specifically at Big White. As Keir mentioned, there is an avenue for people to be able to get certified on, if you came as a snowboard, you could look at getting your ski certs in addition. So that's something they're very, I guess, geared towards. As a resort, it's very forward thinking, I feel. And in terms of getting certified for level 1, it would take place in the same season that you're gaining your other certification. Yeah, so often people will start out with the same format as all internships, level 1 training. It will be normally on the ski side, unless you may have be doing the Cypress program, where you might do the snowboard level 1 for a start, and then you look at training the ski level 1 once you're working. So typically you'll be doing the other discipline while you're working, and it'll be sort of structured around your work. So that's, I guess, the way that I'd probably best describe it. There are level 1 exams that go on throughout the season. I'm not 100% sure on exact schedules in the likes of Canada, but I know in New Zealand there's some that are right at the very start of the season, but then there are some Generally, as it sort of gets later in the season, that's often when the likes of level 2 comes in, a bit later on. So yeah, it's something that people would probably be doing within, I guess, prior to the end of the season. You'd be looking at probably getting your second discipline, I feel. But yeah, you might have any further points on that?
Yeah, similar thing. It largely depends on your experience as well, and how much work you put into it. It's quite hard to start it up and get it really quickly when you start working, because most of you, when you start working, you'll be working during the Christmas holidays, and that's crazy town in terms of busyness, and you might not have the stamina or the desire or the will to do anything because you're going to be working so much and riding so hard, doing whatever discipline you've already learned, because I mean, the snow is usually really good mid-December, and it's nice to get out there. There are level 1 exams in Canada that happen every month, usually at least once a month, depending on where you're at. In Vancouver, there's 3 a month on 3 separate weekends, so there's lots of opportunity. They go all the way until the end of the season, so your timeline on when to get dual certified is really up to you. Like I was saying, most of the training you're going to get with EA will, let's say you're on the ski side and you want to get dual certified on the snowboard side. A lot of the training component will be how to be safe on the mountain. It'll open your eyes a little bit more, and you'll get a lot of skiing in there, and that will help you in your quest to become a snowboard instructor as well. So you don't need the same length of time that you did to become ski certified that you do snowboard certified. You basically just need to learn to get comfortable on the new piece of equipment, and be able to confidently go down, say, a blue run on that new board or on those skis now that you're getting into it. So it might not take long. It might be a while. I would say if you take it really slow, March. If you take it really slow, you'll probably be able to get it in March. If you're really on it really fast and you decide you want to snowboard every day for 2 weeks in January, you can get it in January for sure. It all just depends on how many hours you have time to put on the new piece of equipment. I hope that answers your question. It's kind of hard to say because it depends on you.
Yeah. So one thing I thought might be quite relevant and helpful, I'm going to try something here. It may be a little technical, and if it doesn't work, then we'll just skip it. But what I've got here is just a bit of a video that is produced by the Canadian certification. I'm just going to turn it down. So I'm going to try and share it on the screen. Hopefully it is going to show. I guess the thought I had behind this is that it might hopefully give a bit of an idea. It is just skiing, so I do apologise if you're a snowboarder. I haven't actually found a snowboard one as yet, but yeah, I'm just going to give you a quick example of, I guess, the kind of level of students that you'll often find on our programs. That's often something that people, I guess, have some concerns about, and I guess this gives you a bit of maybe a bit of a visual example of kind of, yeah, it doesn't mean that if you're going through a certification that you have to be, you know, like an ex-racer or anyone that's, you know, skied from the day they could walk. It's certainly not required. So you will see there's a little bit of a variance in terms of skiing abilities here, but I'll just try doing this and see what happens. Okay.
Tell you what, I'll present this just like I do with every. All right, so this is basically the video you'd see if you were to take your CSIA level 1. Okay, so it's telling you that you want skiing. It's kind of choppy, but parallel skiing on groomed intermediate terrain. So can you keep your skis parallel down a blue run? Mostly looking for whether or not you can ski this and lead a class down comfortably. You'll see at the bottom right hand corner there is an A. That tells you that the skier you're looking at is of the level 1 standard, so maintain intermediate speed. And here you'll see the skier coming down to the level 2 standard, so that's the C. I'm not sure if it's as choppy for you guys as it is for me, so it's kind of hard to tell. what the two different skiing types look like. But if this is kind of being too choppy for you guys, you can look these videos up. So this is probably from the YouTube feed, Ash?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just type out. So if you go onto YouTube and look up that, you'll be able to find this level 1 and level 2 skiing criteria. They separated it into playlists. So you can look at the playlist and it'll say level 1 and level 2 playlist, level 3 playlist, level 4, so you can see what to look for. On the snowboard side, it's called that. So it's just a swap of a letter. If you look up, just search those on YouTube, you can find their channels and you can find all the standards videos and just a little bit of browsing, and you'll be able to see a whole bunch of skiing and riding. Some of it will just be showing you the standard, and a lot of it will just be people talking about it, some good riding and skiing. If you want to get psyched up for the season, that's a good place to go and just kind of check out some videos. Some of it's going to be really high end. Some of them could just be a little tip. And a lot of it is standard stuff you would see when you're on the course. So those are really helpful to give you an idea on what the expectation is. And as Ash was saying, the expectation isn't very high at the level 1. It's not. It's meant to be accessible to the public. Many of the people who take these certifications don't have the training you guys will have. You'll go out of it stronger than most of the people. I tell the people that come into Cypress that when you pass, your goal is to be stronger than the other people in the snow school. So you guys will be the strongest in the snow school. And that is generally what happens. And when you pass, when you're doing your training, my aim is to get you to the level 2 standard, not the level 1. Level 1 is too easy. You're meant to get to the level 2. At least that's what I hope that you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just probably, we've got one more question here, which we'll probably just make the last one. Obviously, we've hopefully answered the questions that you've been most keenly interested in knowing today. So this next one we'll just make as the last one, and I guess we'll just do a little bit of a wrap up, just make sure everyone's all, I guess, clear on information. But yeah, this last one is just in relation to age. Can it be an obstacle for someone, say, in late 30s? So in terms of the actual certification, there isn't a limitation on age. So if you're in your late 30s, there's absolutely no reason you can't be going through a certification through any of the different countries that offer the qualification. Probably more importantly, what age can have a bit of a bearing on is in terms of visa access. So typically someone doing one of our programs, if they're going abroad, will normally be coming on on a working holiday visa. So that's certainly the easiest possible way for someone getting into the industry, doing an internship and wanting to be able to work. So it is often dependent a little bit on your citizenship. There are some instances where people can go up to the age of 35. Most cases it's between 18 to 30 that you can get a visa. What happens beyond that day is if you are, let's just say you are certified, you've started to generate some experience, often once you've got at least a level 2 and potentially 2 to 3 seasons of experience or more, then you're often in a position where you can get sponsored. That does depend on certain countries, might have different requirements, certain resorts as well, but that's often the way things will go. If you're, for example, from a European country, you're looking to get certified on the ski side through an internship, you could actually do it in the likes of Switzerland. So there's no issue on age if you're over the age of 30, because there's no working holiday visa requirement there. Likewise, if it was in your own country and you wanted to attend, then that's, I guess, less of a limitation too. We do have training programs if the country you want to go to, like if you want to go to Canada and you aren't eligible for a visa to be able to work, then we do still have the option for those that are wanting to get certified, but you won't be working in that time frame. It'll be all training and certification led.
Yeah, are you sorry, are you more concerned about age from a physical standpoint, or is it a visa situation that you're more concerned about?
Yeah, good question. If you don't mind, if you're still on there, Georgios, if you wouldn't mind just popping on the side there on the chat, if you just answer what Kia was just asking there, if it's okay to. Okay. Hey, well, hopefully it has answered your question. Yeah, okay. So more like physical and employability.
Okay, so employability, age isn't really a factor. You'll notice that in a lot of ski resorts, there's a very wide range of age groups. There's people as young as 16 who are still in high school working part-time to, I don't know, there's a guy who looks like he's 90 who works at the snow school. I'm not really sure. But there's a very, very wide range. And in terms of your age, so uh, I would say age is less of a factor so much as your ability to manage your own body. The only limitation with age is that you get tired more easily and you have the potential to become injured. So that just means you need to have a more regimented diet. You need to make sure you're stretching. You need to make sure to give yourself enough rest time in a pool or a hot tub, get a foam roller, that kind of stuff. But if you look at some of the top skiers and snowboarders in either system, you don't see many people in their 20s. Some of the strongest, the strongest skiers in the country, in the Canadian system, are in their mid 30s to late 40s. Those are the best. The best are at that age. That's when you get there. The youngest person to ever attain their level 4 in Canada was 25. And that isn't mid 30s, but 25 is the youngest. So that's like the lowest. That's so thinking about age in that sense. There are a number of instructors who this year came in as first year instructors, not from EA, but they're in their late 40s and they started it out and they've both attained their level. There's two that I'm thinking of in particular that are full-time instructors, late 40s, early 50s, and both have obtained their level 2 this year. Got their level 1 at the start of the year and obtained their level 2. So as long as you're healthy, then your age won't be a factor. It might actually help you because you'll be less prone to doing something really stupid like breaking your leg on a rail.
Yeah, so thanks again for your question there, Georgios. I hope it does help answer. Yep, fantastic. So yeah, we'll probably just wrap things up here. I guess hopefully this has been quite insightful for those that have been attending. As mentioned on previous ones, this is a recording as well. So if you do want to review anything you might have potentially missed, or if you've got a friend that you feel is I guess would benefit from this, you're more than welcome to share the link. If you have sort of found us and this is the first time you've, I guess, come across EA, or maybe you've inquired with us a while back and you're just sort of starting to think about doing the season with us, we've got a button here which you should find below the screen, which says see if you qualify. The main purpose behind that is that we are, at the end of the day, we do like to speak to people over the phone early on, just to make some assessments on your goals for the season, the likes of your ski or snowboarding experience, so prior experience. You will need to be at a certain standard to be able to attend. So we just like to sort of work out, what your options will be, what your eligibility is. So that's often a good way to do it. And also, if you have enjoyed and like these webinars, you can follow us. It basically means you'll be able to get alerts on any other ones that we'll be hitting up. And if you've got any feedback, certainly on topics that you'd like us to cover, ones that you feel would be relevant, then do let us know. You can either email us or drop it in the comments here. But yeah, I guess lastly, just want to say a massive thank you for having Kia on board today. It's we're very privileged to have Keir on board. He's got a great deal of expertise in the industry. He's, I think personally, from my side of things, and I know this has been discussed in the office here, that we do feel his heart is certainly in the right place in terms of the interns on the program. We're very lucky to have him as both in a mentorship role and the training and development of people on the program. It certainly is very well received from the feedback that we get. And I guess, probably in closing statements, just, if you are looking at getting certified in this industry, it is something that, I guess at the end of the day, it is very rewarding. That sense of achievement that people get when they get each level, even if it is the first level, it's pretty awesome to be able to post that certification up on Facebook, or sharing it with your friends and just sort of celebrating that success. But there is also at that same time a very clear pathway for people to progress themselves in levels, and also in not necessarily always that it has to go up, but it can sometimes actually go outwards as well. That you might be looking at different components that interest you in the form of coaching, or the likes of specific training towards kids. Like in the New Zealand system, we've got a kids cert, which is often very relevant. It helps get even more insight into how to develop kids and become a better kids instructor. Keir, I'll leave you with last words. If you've got any final things you just want to say, and we'll sort of wrap things up.
Yeah, thanks very much for the kind words, Ash. I mean, as he was saying, it's a very rewarding industry. I personally feel very good when I go home, simply because I feel like I've done something for somebody every day, whether it's the instructors or whether it's a student, or who knows. I mean, you'll find that when it's not just teaching skiing and snowboarding. You're going to get some kids up here, or some adults or anything. You're helping them conquer fears. You're helping them build confidence. You're working with yourself to become a professional. And this industry doesn't just teach you to become a ski teacher or a snowboard teacher. It teaches you how to become a professional, because there's a lot of demand in terms of, as Ash was saying, for example, timing and presentation. Not that, for example, you don't have to be the typical cookie cutter suit and tie person. You can have piercings and hair dye, whatever, but you have to have a smile on your face, and you have to be able to separate your social life and your personal life and your professional life. And it teaches you a lot of skills to grow in whatever path you end up taking. So hopefully you guys end up having a really, really good season. EA does a really good job of taking care of everybody, from organizing flights and getting them into the city and making them feel like they have another little family. From what I see with all the interns that come into the various different resorts, is they always end up having very long lasting friendships. And a lot of you guys will be away from your homes for the first time. And that can be a scary thing. So you end up with a small group of people that you're going to live with, that are going to be your family. You'll have a Christmas dinner together, and it'll help make the transition out into the world a lot easier. So hopefully, and of course you have your reps that'll help you along the way too, if anything comes up. But Ash and EA do a really good job, and I'm happy to be a part of it.